My brother is a super boy, the only precious treasure in the family from the moment he was born. The whole family revolved around him, and no one ever gave me a second glance. I hate him, I wish he were dead, and I wish all those who unconditionally spoil this monster would die. So I personally placed those dangerous items within my brother's easy reach, using his hands to turn the household upside down. I am very satisfied with my work, until one day, my younger brother suddenly asked me, "Sister, do you think that heavy brick could kill someone?" Strange, how did he guess what I was thinking? I suspect my younger brother has been reborn. My brother is a born troublemaker. When my mother was pregnant, the doctor told her that this child might not be able to be kept, as there was an issue with one of his chromosomes, and he was very likely to be a little devil from birth. My mother returned home in a daze and told my father and grandmother that the child needed to be aborted that same day. She was severely beaten by my father and grandmother. The next day, my mother resolutely went to the hospital again. I heard my father calling her, cursing her wildly, saying that if she got rid of the Zhao family's only precious treasure, he would break her legs, tie her up, and throw her into the woodshed to fend for herself. So my mother returned home, still heavily pregnant. As soon as she got home, it was as if she had changed her face. She gently prepared a meal for our family and said, "I've thought it through. I want to keep this child. He is the Zhao family's son and its only hope. I will give birth to him properly and raise him well. That's more like it." My dad slapped his thigh, grinning like a terrifying clown. That was the first time I felt disgusted by my dad. Why are boys the precious treasures of the Zhao family, while girls are not? Why is it that the younger brother in my mom's belly, who has a high chance of being born a little devil, still has to be brought into this world to torment the whole family? Are boys really that precious? I asked my grandma, "What's the issue with my little brother's chromosomes?" My grandma smiled and said, "You don't understand. Your brother is a super male. Do you know what that means? It means he's twice the man. In the future, he'll be very capable, very strong, one person worth two. He'll protect you and our whole family." I let out an "oh" and nodded, not fully understanding. Looking at my grandma's attitude, it seems like my mom might give birth to an emperor. I feel a bit sad, and a bit indignant. Before this, my grandma had never spoken to me in such a gentle tone. She always said I was a useless money loser, and that raising me was worse than raising a pig. At least a pig could be sold for some money. I have never had a full meal or worn a new piece of clothing. Only my mother cared for me. She would secretly bring me steamed buns from the kitchen and mend my old clothes, patching up the holes bit by bit. My little brother will be born in a few months. Will she still treat me as well as she used to? When my little brother was born, he weighed a full 8 pounds. My mother almost lost her life, but the whole family was busy fussing over my little brother. They examined his unique male parts over and over, telling everyone that the Zhao family had finally given birth to a boy, and from now on, they could finally walk with their heads held high. I was a bit confused. My mother lay weakly in bed, her hair stuck to her face with sweat, her lips chapped and dry, yet no one wiped her sweat or brought her a glass of water. They all gathered around the little brother, speaking to him in soft, gentle voices that sounded as if they were holding back their breath. I carefully poured a glass of water and brought it to my mother, saying, "Mom, don't worry, when I grow up, I'll protect you." My mother gently stroked my hair, curling the corners of her lips into a faint smile. "Nan, don't worry, Mom will always love you." From that moment on, I knew that from then on, perhaps only my mother and I would rely on each other in this family. After being discharged from the hospital, my grandmother absolutely adored my little brother. She wanted to hold him and watch him every moment. It was as if she were bewitched. She even gave him a name full of masculinity, Axiong. To my surprise, my mother paid little attention to Axiong, letting my grandmother spoil him and my father dote on him, just as she had said. She gave all her love to me. Once, my mother asked me, "Would you be willing if Mom took you away from this place?" Looking into her eyes, I nodded heavily. I know, my mother doesn't belong to this place, and I also know that deep down, she has never considered my grandmother's family as her own. Later, my mother was beaten half to death by my father for trying to escape. After that, it was as if she had resigned herself to her fate, never uttering another word about escaping. And as for Xiong, she began to let him do as he pleased, completely and utterly. When Xiong grew up, no one taught him to hit people, but he would tear at my grandmother's hair, pulling out strands and strands, almost ripping off her scalp. He would also stab my father with a pencil and sprinkle chili water on his wounds. He was foolish and clumsy, yet he grew tall and strong. I had never seen a child so young with such great strength. He would soon be confronting my father and my grandmother. He would directly slap my grandmother in the face and bite my father's arms until they were covered in bruises. Strangely, every time my grandmother was hit, she would still smile with her eyes swollen like peaches and say softly to Ah-seong, "Well done, Ah-seong is so strong, you'll definitely grow up to be a great man." Upon hearing this, Ah-seong would grin, revealing a row of white teeth, and then he would give my grandmother another slap. My mother never complained or paid attention to Ah-seong's great achievements. She said that since my grandmother doted on Ah-seong, she didn't dare to confront her, but I always felt that things weren't that simple. Later, with an innocent and radiant smile, Ah-seong pushed my father to the ground, causing his head to hit the corner of a table, and he died instantly. Then, he set off firecrackers at home again, causing a gas explosion that killed my grandmother in the house. He then stood outside the door, jumping up and clapping his hands, sharing his joy with my mother. "Mom, I'm setting off fireworks for you. Aren't they beautiful? Aren't they spectacular?" My mother gently stroked Ah-seong's head, not uttering a single word of blame. I can't guess what's on my mother's mind, but I know she has taken another step closer to her dream. I love my mother, so I will definitely help her leave this place for good. The first step to leaving here is to clear the obstacles from her path, and the final step is to sever her attachments. Ah-seong is my mother's biological son. She once said that she had never given him maternal love. But after all, he was a piece of flesh that fell from her body, and she couldn't abandon him. When my mother said this, her eyes were filled with despair. A thin layer of tears welled up, and I couldn't help but tremble inside. Then she asked me, Nan, do you understand your mother's heart?" I nodded solemnly. "Mom, I understand. Mom, don't worry. I'll find a way to let you leave here without any worries." One day I asked my mom, "Mom, do you think that brick is so heavy it could kill someone?" My mom glanced at me unhappily. "Of course I do, silly. Why are you asking that?" I stammered, just curious, and then headed off to school with my backpack. As I walked to school with Ah-seong, my backpack felt unusually heavy. Suddenly, Ah-seong tugged at my hand. "Sis, why are you carrying such heavy bricks in your backpack?" I glared at him without answering. Then, he stood still and refused to move. I frowned and turned back to look at him. "Sister, are you planning to use what's in your backpack to kill me?" I swallowed hard, suddenly feeling my entire body freeze up. Strange, how did he know? That was indeed my plan, and I've already come up with the perfect plan in my mind. Just wait until he's not paying attention, push him into that reservoir, and then hit him with the backpack. The rushing water and heavy bricks won't give him a chance to catch his breath. That way, I can leave this godforsaken place with my mom without any worries. Ah-seong has always been simple-minded and physically strong, but I don't know when he started being able to guess what I'm thinking. This is the first time I've felt threatened by him. I said coldly, "If you want to leave, then leave. If not, forget it. We're going to be late for school." Then, not daring to look into his eyes, I quickly walked toward the school. Ah-seong did not follow. He stood right behind me, and I could almost feel his icy gaze piercing my back like a sharp blade. That day, my mind was elsewhere the entire time. If that's the case, does that mean the previous plan is now null and void? What about my mom? I crouched down, using a small stick to draw back and forth on the ground. Suddenly, a white butterfly with patterns flapped its wings a few times and fell to the ground. It seemed to be injured. I gently tugged on its wings and pulled downward. If only this butterfly were Ah-seong. That afternoon, Ah-seong got into trouble again. He tortured a small bird to death and then threw the body into the desk of the little girl sitting in the front row. The little girl was so frightened that she fainted on the spot. The teacher called me into the office and told me to take Ah-seong home as soon as possible. She also asked me to pass a message to my mother. Ah-seong didn't need to come back anymore. Someone like him could go to a special school, but the teacher didn't know that even the special school didn't want him because of Ah-seong's influence. My brother and I were treated like rats scurrying across the street. Everyone wanted to chase us away. I don't have a single friend. I'm so lonely that I often talk to myself while staring at anything that has life. I hate Ah-seong. On the way home, I started thinking again about whether I should push him into the reservoir. If I push him in, everything will be over. Suddenly, I was seized by a powerful force that tore at my hair. "Ah-seong, let go, let me go. Sister, I know you want me to die." Ah-seong dragged me aside, his voice filled with hatred. "I'm sorry. Sister, in my past life, you caused my death. In this life, I want to live." I saw his ferocious smile, like a huge monster, as if he was about to swallow me whole in one bite. As soon as Ah-seong finished speaking, he threw me into the reservoir. His strength was still unexpectedly great. I crashed heavily into the reservoir, the bricks in my backpack adding some extra weight to my fall. Soon, I sank down, gradually. I could no longer breathe, gradually losing consciousness. I struggled desperately But it seemed to be of no use. Am I really going to die at the hands of this monster? When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in a hospital ward. Standing before me were my mother and Ah Xiong. Young lady, you should really thank your brother. If it weren't for him, you wouldn't be alive. The nurse sister pulled the 4-tube from my hand and said with a smile, looking up. I met Ah Xiong's icy gaze. Sister, I promise I'll never make you angry again. Let's get along well from now on, okay? I gasped. Sharply, Ah Xiong's innocent, cheerful face was like a massive whirlpool, threatening to suck me deep inside. Seeing that I looked upset, my mother quickly sent Ah Xiong away and cautiously asked me, Nan, what's really wrong? When I didn't respond, my mother added, it really was Ah Xiong who had someone pull you out of the water. I'm not lying to you. My chest tightened, and I sat up, throwing myself into my mother's arms and sobbing, Mom, it was Ah Xiong who pushed me in. What? My mother froze. For a long while, she held me tightly, repeating I'm sorry over and over again. I knew she regretted giving birth to this monster. If it weren't for my dad and my grandma, she wouldn't be living such a pitiful life. I opened my mouth, about to say something, when suddenly I noticed a pair of eyes staring straight at me from behind my mother. I immediately shut my mouth. I don't know why he saved me, but I suddenly remembered how he laughed with immense joy when he abused small animals. The process he enjoys is probably the abuse part of abuse and kill, right? I took the water cup from Ah Xiong and softly said, thank you, little brother. After being discharged from the hospital, I began to draw a clear line with Ah Xiong. Although Ah Xiong had a violent nature, he never laid a finger on my mother. After bullying classmates again and beating a child of the same grade black and blue, the principal finally expelled Ah Xiong. From then on, he stayed at home. My mother couldn't control him, so he became elusive, sometimes torturing small animals here, sometimes stealing things there. All the children kept their distance from him. Unlike him, my grades kept improving, and by high school, I was already ranked first in my grade. Apart from still having almost no friends, everything else was going quite well. The teacher was very friendly to me and said I could aim for the top-tier universities like 985 and 211. I was overjoyed and rushed home to tell my mom the good news. At night, I snuggled into the same quilt with my mom and whispered to her, when I go to college, I'll take you with me. My mom held me in her arms. Her embrace was warm. However, that was the last time I ever snuggled into my mom's arms. Under the dim light that night, I saw Ah Xiong smile, which seemed somewhat eerie. In the middle of the night, he suddenly ran into my bedroom and stared at me for a long time, leaning over me. As soon as I opened my eyes, I was so frightened that I almost passed out. Sister, are you planning to leave me behind and go live a good life in the big city? I slowly stood up and lied to him. No, I'll take you with me too. Really? Then why do you always want my life? Ah Xiong's tone was very calm, so calm that it seemed as if he were talking about something unrelated to him, so calm that it sent chills down my spine. Over these past few years, I had indeed thought many times about making him disappear. I have reported to the police and even tried to stir up some fights among the local troublemakers, but nothing went as planned. Ah Xiong's body grew increasingly strong. Even boys several years older than him ended up with bruises all over their heads after fighting him. He continued to grow until he reached a height of 1.8 meters, with a burly build that made no one dare to mess with him, including me. The next day, I was called up by the teacher after attending just 2 classes. She said something happened to my mom and told me to go home and check. When I rushed home, the house was already cordoned off with police tape. Ah Xiong was sitting in the yard, staring at the sun. Sister, what do we do? Now it's just the 2 of us left in this family. The morning sun at around 10 o'clock was somewhat hazy. The police ultimately concluded that my mother's death was an accident. Back then, when my mother gave birth to Ah Xiong, her health suffered irreversible damage, especially to her heart. Therefore, she always kept a small box of heart-saving pills within reach. The police said that my mother probably had a sudden discomfort in the morning and collapsed before she could take her medicine. I don't believe it. Only my mother and Ah Xiong were at home, and Ah Xiong has an intellectual disability, so naturally, he couldn't answer any questions. The police had no choice but to hastily close the case. I took a week off, and after handling the funeral arrangements, I suddenly felt as if my entire being had been hollowed out. For the first 16 years, I lived for my mother. Now, it feels as though my life has lost all meaning and hope. In an instant, I stared intently at Ah Xiong for a long while before asking him, did you kill Mom? Ah Xiong blinked his ugly little eyes, then grinned. What are you talking about, sis? That day, Mom had a relapse. She asked me to get the medicine from the cabinet, but you know how clumsy I am. I searched for a long time but couldn't find it. When I went back to ask Mom for the exact location, I couldn't wake her up anymore. I really thought at first that she was just asleep. Ah Xiong's voice was very, very soft, yet it made my head buzz with noise. It was him. He did it on purpose. Why did you do this? I spoke up. I don't know if I was asking him or myself. I suddenly stood up and slapped him across his broad, fleshy face. Why? She was our mother. She loved you, loved me, so she could use me. Is that it? Xiong roared at me loudly. I held my breath, took several steps back, and, losing my balance, fell to the ground. I shouldn't have come into this world. It was Mom who insisted on giving birth to me. I know you're all using me. You and Mom teamed up to use me to get rid of Dad and Grandma. Now she wants to use your hands to get rid of me. Don't think I'm stupid and know nothing. I've already died once, and I won't let you succeed a second time. You all deserve to die. Xiong's large hand tightly gripped my neck, leaving me unable to breathe. I just want to cause trouble everywhere, make you constantly clean up my messes, and ensure none of you have a good life. How dare you use me and then try to abandon me? There's no such logic in the world. I gasped for breath heavily, scenes from these years flashing through my mind. He was right. My mother was using him, and so was I. My mother gave birth to this little life that should never have come into the world, not out of love, but to get back at my father and my grandmother. She never disciplined Xiong, not out of doting, but out of indulgence, indulging him in hitting my grandma, indulging him in hitting my dad, indulging him in provoking children everywhere, letting all kinds of parents come to argue with my dad and grandma. Only then did she feel the pleasure of revenge in her heart. I believe that every time she saw grandma beaten black and blue by Xiong, she secretly rejoiced in her heart, and I was no different. After Xiong was born, my grandma's attitude toward me became even worse. Yet to a monster like Xiong, he is pitifully gentle. I am not even as good as a monster. I am tired of being ignored, tired of being bullied, tired of being alone. I hate them. People like them should not exist in this world. So, when my mom said that pepper spray shouldn't be touched because it would hurt, I placed the pepper spray where Xiong could reach it. Then Xiong took the pepper spray and splashed it on my dad's festering, red, and swollen wound on his leg. When my mom said that children must never play with fire because it could cost lives, I put the lighter in Xiong's room. Then I told him, have you ever seen fireworks? They're really beautiful. Xiong set our house on fire, and my grandmother didn't make it out at that moment when he was jumping around in the yard, saying how beautiful the fireworks were. I wanted to jump up too, holding back the wild joy in my heart. I knew who the next person I had to deal with was. Yes, my brother is a bad seed, and I'm no good either. It's just a matter of innate versus acquired differences. How could a family like mine possibly raise a good child? I don't remember when my mind became twisted. Perhaps it was when I saw my mother lying weak and neglected on her sickbed, or when I saw her beaten black and blue, powerless to do anything about it. If Xiong can abuse little birds, why can't I tear off a butterfly's wings? One belly cannot give birth to two kinds of people. Xiong's grip on my neck tightened more and more, and I began to lose consciousness, my eyes turning red. I still remember when Xiong was in elementary school. He bullied a little boy, and the boy's parents rushed to my house to argue with my dad. They said, your son is not human, he's a bad seed. Such a thing will only harm society when he grows up. At that moment, I thought to myself, my brother would not harm society, because I would never let him slip into society. With my last breath, I took out the concentrated sulfuric acid I had prepared in advance from my school uniform pocket and poured it on him with all my strength. Xiong instantly let go. He clutched his face in pain, cursing me loudly, writhing on the ground in agony. I let out a snort of laughter. I said I wouldn't let him slip back into society. At this point, it's either him or me. While Xiong was still rolling around and cursing, I took out the stick hidden behind the door and struck him with all my strength. Xiong struggled continuously, his entire face twisted in agony, gasping for breath. I placed a fruit knife into Xiong's hand, then, gripping his hand, I drove it forcefully into my thigh. Help, my brother is trying to kill me. I dialed 110 and screamed for help. Blood gushed from my leg, yet I felt no pain at all. Instead, a wave of wild joy surged within me. I am finally going to get rid of him. A few minutes later, the police rushed into my home. I told the police officer that Xiong had somehow gotten his face injured and blamed it on me, saying he wanted to kill me. Xiong, as always, did not disappoint me. Like a violent beast, he struggled frantically and hurled insults at me the moment he was handcuffed, even threatening to cut me into 1,000 pieces. The motive for the crime couldn't be more obvious. I was taken to the hospital, and the fruit knife removed from my wound bore my younger brother's fingerprints. In the interrogation room, Xiong refused to confess and frantically smashed things. I knew that even if Xiong was found guilty of attempted intentional homicide, he couldn't be held criminally responsible because he was still under 18. Moreover, he refuses to cooperate, and it's impossible to convict him. I don't want to waste my whole life on him, so I provided the police with another clue. My brother doesn't seem to be normal. He is my biological brother, and I won't hold him too accountable. I hope you can contact a mental hospital for an evaluation. If he really has mental issues, I will do my best to get him to cooperate with active treatment. Later, I heard that Xiong was taken away by doctors from the mental hospital after being injected with sedatives. Later on, he was indeed diagnosed with a congenital violent gene, and if he were to leave the mental hospital, he might pose a great danger to society. Pretending to be scared and concerned, I asked the doctor, "So, how can it be treated?" "Don't worry, I'll cooperate fully." The doctor sighed and said earnestly, "This kind of congenital genetic issue is almost impossible to cure, but we can use large doses of sedatives and psychiatric drugs to keep him in a calm state, at least so he won't threaten others. Don't you agree?" I nodded solemnly. "You're right. Now that only my brother and I are left in my family, I'll entrust him to you." When leaving the mental hospital, I went to see Xiong. He was looking out through the iron bars due to the heavy doses of sedatives and psychiatric medications. His eyes were vacant and unfocused. Seeing me arrive, he flashed a silly grin again. He called out softly, "Sister." Suddenly, I remembered over a decade ago, in the hospital, that tiny, soft baby whose cries were deafening. His aggressive demeanor made me extremely uncomfortable. Perhaps from that moment on, I began to hate him. I didn't respond to him and turned to leave. "Xiong, I've finally gotten rid of you. Since you were born, the mental hospital should be your best destination. See you never." The situation at my home quickly reached the school leadership. They sympathized with me, pitied me, and organized a donation drive among all the teachers and students for me. I studied like crazy, and 2 years later, I was admitted to a 985 university as I had hoped. The summer after the college entrance exam, I sold the dilapidated house left by my father and grandmother, took the money, and sailed away from my hometown forever. No one knew that a strange evil still lingered in the depths of my heart. I enjoyed watching dissection experiments and never tired of it. In college, I desperately suppressed my strange desires, maintained my image as an outstanding student with good character, won scholarships, and even got a boyfriend. After graduating from college, I joined my boyfriend's family business and became a junior supervisor. I thought my life would continue in this simple yet beautiful way. On the day of the wedding, I received an unfamiliar gift, wearing a bright red traditional Chinese wedding dress. I pursed my vibrant red lips and carefully opened the gift box with my manicured hands. Inside was a butterfly specimen that had lost its wings, along with a fruit knife. My hands trembled, and the gift box fell to the ground, splitting in two. After a long moment, I finally snapped back to reality and, trembling with fear, picked up the gift box and hid it in the cabinet. The wedding proceeded as planned. Soft music filled the auditorium as I walked arm in arm with the groom, slowly making our way to the stage. Yet, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't smooth out the furrow in my brow. My boyfriend asked me, Nan, what's wrong? You seem distracted." I smiled, shook my head, and slipped the prepared ring onto his finger. "Extra, I am Shinshi, and I have been reborn. In my previous life, I died at the hands of my supermasculine son, who is the reason for my rebirth. When my heart disease relapsed, he hid my life-saving medication. My heart was seized with a sharp pain, and my lips turned blue and purple from the inability to breathe. I lay on the ground, seeing my son standing in front of me with a smile, quietly asking me why I didn't love him. He said, "Mom, even though you've been using me all along, always wanting to abandon me, I still love you very much. What should we do about it? How about you just die? If you die, no one will compete with me for Mom anymore." I opened my mouth wide, unable to utter a single word. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in that familiar place. "Shinshi, if you dare lay a hand on my son, I'll make you pay." Zhao Zhang's face flushed red, his neck bulging as he pointed at me, spewing curses with flying spittle. My mother-in-law even stood before me with a knife in hand. "What nonsense about supermasculinity? Isn't supermasculinity a good thing? That's what makes a real man. Who are you to decide not to give birth to him? That's right, I'm telling you, if you dare to get rid of my precious son, I'll break your legs and make you sleep in the warehouse for the rest of your life, living among rats and cockroaches." I lowered my head and looked at my swollen belly. In this life, I have returned to the time before giving birth to Xiong. I stood there frowning, unsure of how to make a choice. The next day, just as in my previous life, I went to the hospital. I decided to end the life of this little one who should never have come into this world. I still remember in my previous life, Xiong asked me why I was unwilling to love him, why I had to use him. His reddened eyes and resentful tone filled me with immense regret. He is my child, yet I have personally turned him into a monster, personally pushed him, my daughter, and myself into an abyss of eternal damnation. I am not afraid of Zhao Jiang breaking my legs, nor am I afraid of my mother-in-law killing me. What I fear most is that in this lifetime, I will still fail to live as a decent human being. Lying in the operating room, half an hour later, the doctor told me it was a fully formed baby boy. I slowly turned my head and took one last look at him. Suddenly, I remembered his despicable and pitiful previous life, perhaps, from the very beginning. He should never have lived. Xiong, I'm sorry. In this life, Mom couldn't bring you into this world. After leaving the hospital, I didn't go home. I used the little money I had left to check into a small hotel and stayed there. Xinxi, why rely on others for revenge? You can do it on your own, too. I couldn't imagine how Zhao Jiang would react when he found out his precious son was gone. All I knew was that by the next day, he had started searching for me like a madman. First, he went to the county hospital, found out about my surgery, and then started using a loudspeaker to publicly accuse me by name of killing our child. When I left the guest house, the front desk staff gave me strange looks. However, none of these are the most important. The most important thing is that my daughter is about to finish school. Zhao Jiang will definitely go to pick up our daughter from school, but not for her sake, it's to find me. After the school bell rang, Zhao Jiang and I faced each other in silence. My daughter timidly hid behind me and softly called out, "Mom." Along with Zhao Jiang came my mother-in-law. They glanced at my now flattened belly, then, as if gone mad, dashed across the street toward me. "You wretched thing, you actually killed my son, murderer. Oh my goodness, there's no justice in this world. Our Zhao family has always been honest and law-abiding for generations. How could we end up with a murderer as our daughter-in-law?" Zhao Jiang raised his fist at me, and my mother-in law was also wailing and crying, sitting at the school gate with tears and snot running down her face, looking exactly like a shameless shrew. More and more parents gathered to watch the show, and the shopkeepers at the school gate also poked their heads out one by one to see what was happening. Finally, someone took out their phone to take pictures. I bent down, holding my daughter tightly in my arms, letting Zhao Jiang's fists rain down on my back. After a while, Zhao Jiang stopped, panting heavily, and cursed loudly while pulling my hair. My daughter jumped out, tugging at Zhao Jiang's pant leg, begging him to let me go. Suddenly, Zhao Jiang's body twitched, and like a startled horse, he charged into the crowd. He started by hitting anyone he saw, then began banging his head against the wall. More and more people gathered around to watch the commotion. I pulled my daughter back a few steps. Looking down, I met her determined gaze. "Mom, don't worry, this time there definitely won't be any issues." As soon as my daughter finished speaking, my mother-in-law, who dotes on her son endlessly, couldn't sit still any longer. She stood up and walked over behind Zhao Jiang. "My son, what are you doing? That wretched woman is standing right over there. Why are you hitting yourself?" I patted Zhao Jiang on the shoulder, turned around, and pointed at me with my finger. "Look, she's over there. Go on, go hit her." Zhao Jiang's eyes turned red. Suddenly, he pushed my mother-in-law to the ground and began punching and kicking her. My mother-in-law was caught off guard, crashing headfirst into the nearby steps. She whimpered in her mouth, unable to even cry out the word pain. Zhao Jiang was incredibly strong, his fists pounding relentlessly on my mother-in-law's frail, old bones. It seemed they would soon be shattered. After what felt like an eternity, someone shouted, "The police are here." The crowd quickly dispersed. In the vast, empty space, only Zhao Jiang, still raging mad, and my mother-in-law, bleeding from her mouth and nose, remained. My mother-in-law was rushed to the hospital, while I took my daughter to the police station for questioning. Several officers saw my daughter and me, and almost simultaneously, they all wore expressions of understanding. "I used to be a regular here ever since I got married. I have often been subjected to domestic violence. At first, every time Zhao Jiang beat me, I would run to report it to the police. However, each time it was dismissed as a marital dispute between husband and wife. Zhao Jiang would only receive a few words of criticism and education, or at most be detained for 2 days before being sent back home. Whenever Zhao Jiang returned home, he would lock me in the room like a trapped beast and beat me relentlessly. After all, I am just a woman, not as strong as Zhao Jiang. After being beaten black and blue once again, I became pregnant with my daughter. It was as if I had resigned myself to fate, yet at the same time, I seemed unwilling to accept it. Domestic violence couldn't trap Zhao Jiang, but surely beating his own mother half to death would be enough to convict him. Right, in the interrogation room, I recounted the incident in detail, and additionally, provided the police with the address of the person who took the photos. The evidence proved that Zhao Jiang had indeed assaulted someone. If my mother-in-law was assessed as having sustained minor injuries, the charges would stand. I gently touched the bruises on my arm and let out a long sigh. That evening, my mother-in-law passed away because her injuries were too severe to save. I tried to force out a few tears, but I couldn't fake any sadness. The court ruled that Zhao Jiang was guilty of involuntary manslaughter and sentenced him to life imprisonment. My daughter and I stood hand in hand in the yard, feeling as if a great weight had been lifted. I sold Zhao Jiang's house at a low price and planned to leave here with my daughter. After being deceived into this unfamiliar place for so long, I can finally leave. While packing my luggage, I found a bottle of medicine in the trash can. That was what I left for my daughter. The instructions on the medicine bottle had been torn off, and no one knew what kind of medicine it was, except for me. I patted my daughter's head and said, "After using this, you can't just throw it in the trash." With that, I poured the last 2 pills from the bottle into my palm, threw them into the toilet, and flushed them down the drain. With that, everything should be over now. I transferred my daughter to a new school and moved to another city. I found a new job and began a new life for both my daughter and myself. Apart from my daughter, no third person knows the secret between us, mother and daughter, about that bottle of medicine, about why Zhao Jiang suddenly went mad before going for the abortion. I went to the psychiatric hospital and got a bottle of strong antidepressant and antipsychotic medication. For a normal psychiatric patient, taking that medication can alleviate symptoms, soothe emotions, and cause drowsiness, but for a normal person, taking it can lead to anxiety and restlessness at best, and at worst, cause hallucinations and violent tendencies, especially when under stress. The consequences are even more unimaginable. After bringing the medicine back, I said to my daughter, Nan, do you want to leave here with Mom?" My daughter touched my swollen eye and whispered, "Mom, I do." I took out a few pills, ground them into powder, and told my daughter when to put this powder into her father's food. My daughter listened very carefully. She is very smart and catches on quickly. I went to the hospital as scheduled, and my daughter went to school on time. Later, the scene at the school gate unfolded. Zhao Jiang, like a mad dog, vented all his anger and resentment on me. My daughter hugged his leg, begging him to stop hitting me, and even said that if her little brother were still alive, he wouldn't want to see Dad hitting Mom. This sentence instantly ignited Zhao Jiang. Stimulated, Zhao Jiang went completely mad. He uncontrollably slammed into the wall, uncontrollably beat his own mother, and used the greatest force uncontrollably. At first, I hadn't expected the drug's effects to be so powerful until I returned home and discovered that nearly empty medicine bottle. What immense hatred drove my daughter to increase the dosage from just a few pills to dozens. With trembling hands, I poured out the medicine, counting and recounting, until I confirmed the fact that my daughter had independently increased Zhao Jiang's dosage. I pretended not to know, saying nothing and asking no questions. My daughter's remaining life should be brighter and more splendid than her previous one, and I will spend the rest of my life loving her well and making up for everything. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my previous life, my sister and I received a system reward. She quickly chose $7 million, while I got a perfect score of 700 on the college entrance exam. As a result, she squandered all the money within a few years and ended up deep in debt. Meanwhile, I graduated from Harvard and now earn a 6-figure salary. After several failed attempts to get money, my sister pushed me off the rooftop, and we both were reborn just before the college entrance exam. This time, she eagerly chose 700 points, successfully got into Harvard, and even stole my boyfriend from a powerful family. Sorry, sis, your life is mine now. I smiled. A pig born in Rome is still just a pig. Later, with $7 million in savings, I was recruited by Harvard as the top scorer in the province. Anna and I were reborn just before the college entrance exam. A cold, mechanical voice echoed in my ears, identical to the one in my previous life. Congratulations, host, for completing the system task. Please choose your reward. Option 1, a score of 700 on the college entrance exam. Second, deposit 7 million yuan. I struggled to look away and saw Anna across from me, her expression dazed. She murmured in astonishment, "System reward, 700 points." She snapped back to reality and shouted without hesitation, "I choose 700 points." She sneered, "With a Harvard diploma. Am I still afraid I won't earn 7 million this time?" Ding, mission reward has been credited, 700 points on the college entrance exam, and I received the deposit reward, 7 million yuan in full. Anna looked at me triumphantly. "Sis, this paper diploma is worth a lot more than your 7 million. I didn't speak. Looking at that proud and triumphant face, I knew she had also been reborn. In our previous life, Anna and I both received a system reward. When faced with the choice, she quickly chose the 7 million. What's the use of scoring 700? Even if you get into a prestigious university, you'll still end up working for me For the rest of her senior year, she carried a fortune with her and had no interest in studying. She skipped classes, put on makeup, and threw money around in bars. In her own words, "I'm already financially free, so why bother studying?" Later, she failed the college entrance exam. After going abroad to relax, she resumed an extremely indulgent lifestyle. Within just a few years, $7 million was squandered, but with no skills to speak of, her impoverished soul couldn't support her inflated desires, so she secretly began taking out loans, interest compounded upon interest, until I was buried in debt. When she had nowhere to turn, she set her sights on me, who was already earning a 7-figure salary. After being refused money several times, she pushed me off the rooftop with bitter resentment. "Why do you thrive with your 700-point score, while I'm left drowning in debt? That score should have been mine. You stole my life." So, this time, she chose 700 points without hesitation. That night, I heard her muffled laughter. "Sorry, sister, your life is mine now." I pretended to be fast asleep, but inwardly, I was sneering. The system only gave her a score of 700, not the ability to match it. Does she really think that a pig reincarnated in Rome is not a pig at its core? There are still 6 months left until the college entrance exam. I rely on the foundation from my past life and seize every opportunity to study hard, and Anna, knowing she will score 700 points, feels at ease and slacks off. Every time the results of a minor exam came out, she would dismiss them with disdain. "These scores don't prove anything. I can score 700 in the college entrance exam." She even scoffed at my efforts. "Don't waste your energy. It's fine if you just go to a vocational college." She always thought my 700 score in my past life was due to the system, but in reality, I never placed my hopes on that mysterious and elusive system. Every moment she indulged in pleasure in her past life, I was studying diligently. Even the reward in that past life was bugged and held me back. I originally estimated my score to be around 720 points, and because of the system's reward, my final college entrance exam score was exactly 700 points. Reborn into a new life. This time, my goal is to be the top scorer in the province. Finally, the college entrance exam has arrived. I'm also looking forward to it. Reborn into this life, without the bug of system rewards. How many points can I actually score after the college entrance exam? Anna told everyone she estimated her score at 700. At first, no one believed it, until after checking the answers. "Oh my god, Anna, you must have scored 700 this time, right? So you've been playing dumb all along. Ha, good looks and top grades. I can't even imagine how much your parents must spoil you." Anna smiled politely. "Grades don't mean everything. Even if Nancy only gets into a vocational college, she's still my sister." Nancy, someone immediately chimed in. "With her usual grades, even getting into a second-tier college would be a stroke of luck for your family." "Come on, one stroke of luck is enough. If her family gets 2, how are the rest of us supposed to survive?" Among the chorus of compliments, there was also Andrew, my boyfriend, a second-generation official with good grades and good looks. At this moment, he looked at Anna with a gentle expression. "To be honest, you are much better than your sister. I hope we can both get into Harvard." Anna's gaze went past him and landed on me. Her eyes were full of pride. "Okay." That night, Anna stopped me at the door. "Sis, it seems like your boyfriend likes me more. He just sent me a message confessing his feelings." "Oh really?" I responded indifferently. "Then he's all yours. Such a great boyfriend. I won't hold back, sis. After all, Andrew said he finds me more perfect and likes me more." I smiled. Does she really think Andrew is some high-quality rich second generation? At his core, he's just a psychologically twisted pervert. In my past life, I discovered his true nature early on and broke up with him, but another girl wasn't so lucky. The department's beauty queen fell from a building on the night of her birthday. The murderer was her boyfriend at the time, Andrew. Unfortunately, Anna, who was busy indulging in a life of luxury in her previous life, was unaware of these things. Since she wants such a pervert as a boyfriend, I might as well grant her wish. When the college entrance exam scores were released, both of my parents gathered around Anna. My mother nervously asked her, "Anna, are you really confident you can score 700 points?" "Of course." Anna sipped her tea calmly. "I'm sure I can score 700. Don't worry." A few minutes later, Anna logged into the query system. My mom's scream was piercing. 700 points, really? Truly worthy of being our parents' precious daughter. So impressive. My dad was also grinning from ear to ear. Great. Dad always knew my precious daughter could do it. Anna suddenly turned to look at me. "Sis, how many points did you get?" The moment I was mentioned, the room fell silent. My mom glanced at me. I'd be thanking the heavens if she even makes it to the second-tier college cutoff. All the tuition we paid for her went straight to the dogs. How much money has she wasted for the family over the years? Enough. My father sighed. What's the point of saying all this, anyway? She's grown up now. If she can get into a second-tier university, she can apply for a student loan to study. If she doesn't get in, it's just as well. She can go out and work to help support the family. Amid the sarcastic remarks, Anna looked at me with an innocent expression. Sis, don't be upset. Life isn't just about the college entrance exam. In a couple of days, I'll ask Mom to introduce you to someone for a blind date. Getting married early and settling down is a good option too. My mom ruffled Anna's hair. Anna is right. Let's not talk about her for now. I'm going to call our relatives to share the good news. Olden, hurry and check if the best hotels in our city still have availability for the celebration banquet. My dad responded and quickly went to search for the hotel's phone number. Anna, meanwhile, went out for a date with Andrew. When I was alone in the room, I opened the webpage to check my scores. Nancy, the results are blocked, just as expected. I can only continue to wait. Nighttime, while my parents were busy cooking to celebrate for Anna. A knock came at the door. Several reporters were standing outside the door. Excuse me, is this the home of Nancy? My father frowned. Yes, she is. Has she gotten into some trouble? No. The reporter beamed with a smile. We wanted to interview the top scorer in the province. The top scorer in the province. My dad paused for a moment before realizing. You want to interview Anna, right? As he spoke, he called out loudly toward the back. Anna, come quickly, someone is here to interview you. My mom hurriedly brought Anna over. Anna, you actually became the top scorer in the province. You've really made your parents proud, not like your sister. When the relatives asked how she did, I was too embarrassed to tell them. Anna smiled, her eyes almost unable to conceal her pride. I never expected to become this year's top scorer in the province either. Before she could finish, she was interrupted by a reporter at the door. Wait, isn't this Nancy's house? This year's top science student isn't Anna, it's Nancy. The parents looked at each other, stunned. Nancy, are you mistaken? My mom pulled Anna over. Our Anna scored 700 points. Nancy would be lucky to get 400. If there's a provincial top scorer, it must be our Anna. 700 points. The reporter at the door was clearly taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, your daughter is also very outstanding, but today we are here to interview the provincial top scorer, Nancy. Her college entrance exam score is 738 points. Impossible. Anna couldn't hold back any longer and exclaimed, with her grades, how could she possibly score over 700? You must have made a mistake. No mistake. The reporter impatiently interrupted and then looked at me. You must be Nancy, right? I am. A crowd of reporters swarmed forward, surrounding me. Anna was pushed to the back. Her fierce gaze at me was exactly the same as in the previous life. However, this time she could only watch as I smiled appropriately and handled everything with ease in front of the camera, basking in all the spotlight and applause. My parents were also pulled in for interviews. What kind of parenting experience could produce a daughter who became the top scorer in the province? My father, beaming with pride, couldn't hide his smile. Actually, we don't have any special parenting experience. My daughter is both smart and hardworking. Our Nancy has been clever since she was little. Relatives have always said she would grow up to be more accomplished than her younger sister. My mother also pretended to be affectionate and held my hand, saying, my daughter is perfect in every way, except she's too strong-willed, just like me. In stark contrast to the warmth here was Anna in the corner, seething with jealousy. She glared at me when suddenly a reporter went over to interview her. Anna quickly averted her gaze, putting on an obedient look and even tidying her hair. Are you here to interview me? Yes. The reporter held the microphone in front of her and asked, having such a top student as your sister, do you usually feel pressured in your studies? Do you also look up to your sister as a role model? Anna forced a strained smile and said through gritted teeth, yes, my sister has always been my role model. After the reporter left, my parents crowded around me, saying, our Nancy actually came back as the top scorer in the province. Why didn't you tell us earlier? Exactly, you child, keeping such good news from your parents. What would you like to eat? Nancy, Mom will make it for you. Mom. Anna, who was standing nearby, couldn't hold back any longer. I found out yesterday that my sister has 7 million in her bank account. She looked concerned. Sister, you didn't do something foolish, did you? 7 million. My mother's voice was sharp and thin, very piercing. Nancy, where did you get so much money? And I quietly looked at Anna, having lived 2 lives, yet your methods are still so direct and naive. Investments, I spoke calmly, mentioning 2 recent investment projects. My parents were stunned. My mother had been a housewife all her life, and my father was just a small-time employee. They couldn't tell whether what I said was true or false. They were simply overjoyed. Nancy, how come you never told us you made so much money from your investments? Things have been a bit tight at home lately. Could you take out a few $100,000 for living expenses first? I smiled and said, sure. But recently, all the funds have been invested in a new project, so I can't take any out right now. Once the funds are returned, I'll give you and Dad $1 million each first." My parents instantly beamed with joy. Great, great, you're truly our precious daughter, Dad, Mom." Anna stomped her foot anxiously beside them. "Can't you see she's just painting a rosy picture for you? What investment? That money is definitely in her bank card. Just take the card and withdraw the cash, isn't that simple?" "Shut up." My dad glanced at my expression. "Your sister has to study and earn money at the same time. She's already working hard enough." "All right, that's enough. Let's go out for a meal to celebrate for your sister," Anna said angrily. "I'm not going." "Fine, don't go then," my dad scolded angrily. "Let's go out to eat. We've really spoiled her too much." The door slammed shut, blocking out Anna's frustrated screams from inside the house. 2 days later, Anna didn't return home all night, telling her parents she was staying at her classmate Doris's house. She was lying. Doris was recently on a family trip to Hainan. At 11 o'clock at night, I came across Anna's WeChat Moments post, "Me and my moon." The accompanying picture showed her hand tightly clasped with another person's. Beneath their hands was a white bedsheet. Shortly after, Andrew sent a WeChat message, "Nancy, let's break up." I curl my lips into a smile. Finally, he brought up the breakup under the dim desk lamp. I typed back to him, "Why, Andrew, you know how much I like you. I don't agree to break up. Did you fall for someone else?" A series of messages were sent, and finally, on the 7th one, I received an exclamation mark. I put away my phone with satisfaction. A pervert like Andrew, if I agree too readily, it will only stir up his unwillingness and desire for a challenge. Only by making him feel that I can't bear to let go will he break it off cleanly with me. The next day, when Anna returned, the gloom from before had vanished, and she was beaming with joy. "Sis," she inadvertently revealed the hickey on her neck, "Andrew is mine now. Please stop bothering my boyfriend from now on. Have some self-respect. He doesn't love you anymore. Even if you beg on your knees, it won't change anything." Anna chuckled. "What does having 7 million matter? With Andrew's family background, marrying him would bring you far more than 7 million. It seems, sister, you still don't have that kind of luck." I quietly watch Anna's smug face, sighing inwardly. Being the girlfriend of a deranged murderer, I really don't dare to accept such a blessing. My parents held a college acceptance celebration for us. "Mom," Anna looked at the scene with dissatisfaction, "didn't you say it was for both me and Nancy? The screen says top scorer's banquet, and my score is even lower than my sister's, just because of a few dozen points." "You're being so biased. Be good." My mother hugged her and whispered, "Your father cares about face," and insisted on throwing a so-called top scholar banquet. By the time I found out, it was too late to change it. "Don't be angry. Once you get the admission letter, I'll give you money to go traveling." "Okay." As they spoke, a group of relatives and friends approached, offering their congratulations to my mother, raising 2 top students at once. "You really are blessed." "Exactly. Nancy has really made you proud. She's the top scorer in the province, and there are only a few like her in the whole country. I've always thought Nancy was smart since she was little. I knew she wouldn't disappoint." Anna, however, scoffed, "You all have such old-fashioned ideas. In this day and age, isn't money what matters most? Even if she becomes the top scorer in the province, she'll just end up working for someone else." As she spoke, she turned to her parents. "Mom, I have a surprise for you later." The relatives around looked at each other in confusion. My mother was also completely baffled. Just as they were speaking, another guest suddenly arrived in the banquet hall. Anna quickly raised her arm and called out loudly, "Andrew, over here." I overheard some relatives discussing, "Andrew, is he the son of Director James?" "That's him. Director James had him later in life, and he's his only precious son, absolutely doted on. I heard they're going to hold a celebration banquet for his college admission in a few days." How is Anna connected to young Master James? They look so close, it doesn't seem like they're just classmates. Anna confidently linked arms with Andrew and smiled at everyone. "Let me introduce everyone. This is my boyfriend, Andrew." The room fell silent for 2 seconds, and immediately someone stepped forward. "Is this Mr. James? I had dinner with your father last time. How is Director James doing lately?" Andrew smiled and replied, "He's doing well." My mother, who had been visibly angry at her openly bringing a boyfriend, immediately beamed with joy upon hearing Andrew's identity. "Is that Xiaorang? Come on over, you can sit at the first table over there. Anna will also be sitting at that table after she goes on stage later." "All right, thank you, Auntie." Andrew briefly greeted everyone, his gaze lingering on me. "I heard you were the top scorer in the province," he said in a gentle tone, his emotions unreadable. "Congratulations, Nancy." My heart tightened, afraid that he might go back to his old ways. I quickly took advantage of the fact that no one was around and whispered to him, "So, can we make up, Andrew?" As expected, the warmth in Andrew's eyes vanished in an instant. He sneered, "It's impossible now, I'm Anna's boyfriend, Nancy, you should just give up, stop daydreaming. After saying that, he walked around me and headed toward Anna. I watched his retreating figure and popped a candy into my mouth. Idiot. During the summer, Anna was busy dating Andrew, while I was busy investing and starting a business, leveraging years of work experience from my past life and the information advantage after being reborn. I made a small profit in these 2 months. Even before the first year of university started, I had already become a little rich woman. Actually, I was planning to transfer some money to my parents, but before transferring the money, I accidentally overheard my mom and Anna talking on the balcony. Silly, of course mom loves Anna the most. Your sister is holding on to so much money and won't spend it. Mom and dad will coax her. Get the money, and buy you a new phone and laptop. Okay. Anna nestled in my mom's arms, crying and complaining about her grievances on the unlit balcony. My mom held her and whispered comforting words in a gentle tone. You've always been smarter than your sister since you were little. A few dozen points on the college entrance exam don't mean much. I'm sure you'll still be the one who achieves more in the future, Anna. Then Anna cooed softly. Mom, ask Nancy for more money. I still want to travel abroad. Okay. My mother tousled her hair and said in an affectionate tone, you little greedy one, hurry back to bed, or your sister might come out and hear you. I listened quietly. The last glimmer of hope in my heart was completely extinguished. In my previous life, I scored 700 points on the exam, besides using my grades as a topic for showing off in front of others. My parents still always favored my younger sister. I am 1 year older than Anna, but my parents have always been partial to their younger daughter since childhood, even making me start school a year later just to take care of my sister. So, from elementary school onward, Anna and I were in the same grade and the same class. Over the years, I have been more like the sensible, invisible background of the family. Even in my previous life, when Anna dragged me off the rooftop, I only heard my parents screaming Anna's name before they came out. I quietly returned to the bedroom. Sure enough, the next day, my mom held my hand and started crying about how poor they were. Nancy, your dad's company hasn't been doing well lately. We've spent a lot of money to support you and Anna through school, and now we really don't have any money left. How about you lend me a few $100,000 first? I held her hand too and said, don't worry, Mom, this round of investment will pay off in another 2 months. I'll transfer the money to you then. You're my parents, my closest family. If I make money, how could I not spend it on our family? My mother agreed with a mix of doubt and belief. I sighed. If only Anna would sell the luxury items Andrew gave her. After all, she's still young. Carrying a designer bag is too flashy and might actually harm her. The money from selling them would just about cover 2 months, and by then, I'll have the funds to return. A word is enough to the wise. That night, I heard an argument coming from Anna's room. Mom, are you crazy? Why did you sell my bag? Didn't we agree to ask Nancy for money? If Andrew finds out I sold the bag he gave me, he'll definitely be angry. Arguments continued. Finally, Anna stormed out and did not return all night. The summer break soon came to an end. After the start of the new semester, I gave a speech on stage as a representative of the new students. Anna happened to be sitting in the first row when she took the stage. She stared at me intently. Her eyes were filled with jealousy, resentment, and unwillingness. Yet, as her emotions shifted, she smiled again. I have a bad feeling about this. As expected, as soon as I stepped onto the stage, I felt my pants tear open at the thigh. A loud rip sound was unmistakable. Whispers began to rise from the audience. Then, I heard Anna deliberately raise her voice. Oh, how did her pants get torn? It seemed like laughter broke out. Thousands of people in the audience were watching me. Some people looked on with amusement, while others frowned. If it were my 18-year-old self from a past life, I might have felt awkward and embarrassed, at a loss for what to do, but the person on stage was me, with a mental age already past 30. After the initial shock, I pulled my shirt to cover up a bit and continued onto the stage. Soon, someone handed over a coat, and I casually tied it around my waist. I proceeded with the speech as usual. My tone was impassioned, and my words were forceful. Among the thousands of students in the audience, there were certainly no ordinary individuals, and naturally, no one would dwell on that trivial incident. Anna's naive tactics were still stuck in her high school days from her past life. She hadn't expected that everyone's attention would be captivated by the speech. With 5,000 years of glorious history, the vast land of China shines like the starry river. May our generation strive to safeguard the prosperity of this great nation. After reading the last 2 lines, applause erupted like a tidal wave. I bowed in gratitude and, as I stepped off the stage, met Anna's jealous and resentful gaze. I know, the issue with the pants was definitely her doing behind the scenes. I don't want to waste time arguing with her, so later, I just ordered a seafood platter for myself the night before her physical exam and added some laxatives to it. I took a photo and posted it on my social media. Mom called soon after. Nancy, I thought you didn't like seafood. You could have just tried a little and thrown it away, but it Would have been better to give it to your sister. Your sister loves seafood the most. When you come home, Mom will stew the ribs you love. Okay. I bit my lip in grievance. All right. Then I watched as Anna smugly took away the takeout. The next day, my roommate came back to the dorm excitedly and said, "Did you hear? Today, a girl from the department next door had diarrhea while running the 800-meter race." I pretended to be surprised. On the track field, yes, she was running, then suddenly shouted that her stomach hurt and rushed to the restroom, but halfway there, it just burst out on the spot. My roommate shook his head. I happened to be there at the time, and as a result, I couldn't even eat lunch. The dormitory was buzzing with discussion. Oh my God, isn't that just so socially awkward? If it were me, I probably wouldn't have the face to finish the remaining 4 years at school. Not long after, I received a phone call from Anna. "Nancy, you did this on purpose, didn't you?" "Yes." I flipped through the pages of my book and said casually, "You gave me a gift at the freshman assembly first, so I had to return the favor." "Anna, focus on your relationship and don't mess with me. You can't beat me." Anna suddenly laughed. "Nancy, are you doing all this because you still can't let go of Andrew? What a pity. No matter how much you struggle, Andrew won't come back to you," she said disdainfully. "Andrew said he finds you disgusting now. He hates clingy girls like you the most." It seems that because she found an outlet to vent, her mood instantly improved. "So what if you're the top scorer in the province? Aren't we still classmates? What's the big deal about 7 million? Do you know the value of Andrew's dad being the bureau chief? After graduation, I can marry Andrew, and his family will pave the way for me. By the time you graduate, that little money of yours will probably be long gone." The sound of mockery kept ringing in her ears. It was all her empty and narrow-minded fantasies. I shook my head. "Hang up the phone. No wonder she lives so happily." I occasionally scroll through my social media feed before bed. The most frequent updates I see are from Anna. "Andrew took me to an amazing Japanese restaurant today. Love you. A LV bag for my baby, whose heart is racing." I won't say. I had a cold and a headache today, so I washed up early and went to bed. Came across Anna's latest update. "Night hike to GX Rock with Andrew." The post includes a photo of her and Andrew together against the night sky. Anna smiles and flashes a peace sign at the camera, while Andrew holds her with a gentle smile. His gaze was chilling. It sent a shiver down the spine of anyone who saw it. Sliding further down, my head felt heavy and dizzy, and I fell asleep. When I woke up, I saw Anna's new update again, 2 accompanying images. In the first one, she is sitting on a chair with her ankle badly swollen. In the other photo, Andrew is crouching beside her, applying medicine to her injury. Unlucky enough to almost fall off the mountain and sprain my ankle, but thankfully my boyfriend is so caring. Looking at this familiar scene, I suddenly remembered, in my previous life, I seem to have seen a similar post from the campus bell. Back then, Andrew also took her night hiking on GX Rock. She almost fell off the mountain but was pulled back by Andrew just in time, ending up with only a sprained ankle. Actually, later, according to Andrew's account, he had intended to take action that day, but upon noticing people around, he decided against it at the last moment. It seems, after Anna took Andrew away, the consequences that should have been borne by the campus bell were all transferred to her. It's really dramatic, but I don't intend to tell her. Even if I did, she wouldn't believe me. Instead, she would think I'm jealous and trying to win Andrew back. Moreover, no matter how close we are as siblings, I can't tolerate her repeatedly trying to harm or kill me. I choose to respect the karma of others. During my freshman year, I co-founded a studio with a few senior students. Only I knew how influential these individuals would become in the business world in the future. I had capital, years of experience from a past life, and an information advantage, and they possess exceptional ability and vision. The studio's development has been exceptionally smooth. In less than a year, the 7 million in my hands has more than doubled. My studies were never neglected. As for Anna, she initially attended classes diligently, but she had fallen too far behind in her foundational knowledge, leaving her confused in every lesson. Without the system, her original college entrance exam score would likely have been around 300 points, not to mention wasting 2 lifetimes. Moreover, later on, she became completely devoted to Andrew and had no interest in her studies. Recently, a high school classmate sent me a link. "Nancy, this streamer, is that your sister?" I clicked in confusion, then I saw an extremely seductive scene. Anna was dressed in skimpy clothes, making all sorts of provocative gestures toward the camera. Although only half of her face was visible, it was still unmistakably her. I forced myself to watch the entire video, and vaguely recalled rumors I had heard in a past life about the campus bell. A few words leaped to mind. Compliance test. That pervert Andrew spent his days emotionally manipulating and putting down his girlfriend to make her prove her loyalty. He forced her to film some special videos to satisfy his disgusting desires, either break up or shoot some suggestive videos and post them online. The intensity gradually increases, and the other person's boundaries are lowered bit by bit with each compromise until they are completely loyal. In my previous life, I only thought those were rumors, but now it seems they were indeed true, and clearly, it wasn't Anna's first time filming. Even in her daily life, her clothing choices deliberately catered to Andrew's preferences, becoming increasingly bold. I heard she was even publicly criticized by the teacher in class for her attire. I frowned as I scrolled through her unsightly videos. What difference does it make if this version of Anna is reborn? The reborn Anna is still the same one, full of desires and utterly depraved from her past life. For her, without the 7 million in rewards from her past life system, and with only a diploma to her name, it's uncertain whether she can even manage to graduate. Andrew is the only lifeline that can satisfy her material desires. She had long lost herself. All that remained were the luxury bags, one after another. In her social media posts before the exam, my mom suddenly called me, "Nancy, your final exams are coming up soon." I'm doing my homework and answered casually, "What's up? Could you take the exam for your sister?" What? I was taken aback, and my hand holding the pen paused. My mom seemed to find it hard to bring up as well, and said awkwardly, "Your sister said she's been struggling to keep up this semester. If she fails, she might not pass the makeup exam either. But you're different. Our Nancy is so smart, she could easily pass the makeup exam." No, getting caught taking an exam for someone else can lead to serious consequences, even expulsion. My mother quickly added, "That won't happen. You and your sister look so much alike. If you just get bangs, the proctor definitely won't be able to tell." As the older sister, please help your sister out. I have long been accustomed to their favoritism. This time, however, I didn't feel sad, only a sense of irony. This is absolutely impossible. Nancy, I hung up the phone directly. My mom called a few more times, and I hung up on all of them. Finally, my mom sent a WeChat message. "Mom is really sad. Other sisters dote on and cherish their younger sisters. How can you be so cold-hearted? Ask yourself, are you even a qualified sister?" I quickly typed back, "You'd make a pretty good sister yourself. Otherwise, I'll be her mom, and you'll be her sister." My phone buzzed, and my mom sent a series of voice messages. Of course, I didn't listen to any of them, set the messages to do not disturb, and continued with my homework. I refused to help, so Anna found someone else to take the exam for her. The result, Anna's grades in all subjects were invalidated, and the specific disciplinary outcome will be notified after the exam that night. Anna came to my dormitory. As soon as we met, she slapped me. "Nancy, you're just deliberately making fun of me, aren't you? You're so good at studying. You could have just taken the exam for me. Mom called you so many times, and you refused. Now that my results are invalid, are you satisfied?" I grabbed her wrist tightly, smiling. I said, "Not bad. If you were expelled, I would be even more satisfied." "You." Anna struggled desperately and suddenly pulled out a bottle of mineral water from her chest. My heart sank, and I quickly called my roommate to help stop her. Fortunately, my roommate reacted quickly and snatched the water bottle away while I was holding Anna down. "What's this?" She frowned. "It couldn't be sulfuric acid, could it? Nancy, your sister, she wouldn't be that cruel, would she?" I held Anna down firmly and sneered. "Is there anything she wouldn't do?" Yeah, help me call the police." The police arrived quickly. We were all taken to the police station to give our statements. After returning to school, I went straight to the office and handed over those video links of Anna to the school. Anna has been showing her face more frequently in her recent videos, and her personal information has been dug up, with her identity as a Harvard student also being widely discussed in the comments section. Harvard, oh my god, even top students are this wild. No wonder everyone is breaking their necks to get into Harvard. My understanding of Harvard has deepened another layer. The school took this very seriously and immediately launched an investigation, attempted exam cheating crime, posting a large number of indecent videos online and causing public opinion impact. Anna is definitely not going to be able to continue her studies. As expected, the school's disciplinary decision came out quickly: expulsion from school, and Anna was detained by the police for a month. My parents called me countless times, but I didn't answer. Even if I had, it would have just been them blaming me for calling the police or scolding me for not taking good care of my sister. I don't plan on going back to that home either. For the holidays, I chose to stay in Beijing to study and develop my studio. After coming out, Anna returned to her hometown. However, as the new year approached, I suddenly received a phone call. My grandmother had passed away. How could it be so sudden? I immediately booked a flight home. While packing, my hands felt stiff, thinking of the old lady whose voice was as loud as a bell, who always had all kinds of delicious treats in layers of oiled paper and secretly gave them only to me, the old lady who, upon learning that I was the top scorer in the province, was the only one who cried before celebrating, hugging me and saying it must have been so hard to achieve such great results, that the only one who truly cared for me, the old lady, how could she have passed away so suddenly? My aunt told me that Grandma passed away in her sleep, very peacefully, without any suffering, but the night before going to bed, she kept saying, "It's been so long since I've seen Nancy. I wonder how she's doing at school. Are you eating enough? Have you lost weight again?" She had been saying it for a long time. That child is so sensible, always putting herself last. When she comes back for the holidays, I'll have to personally stew some ribs for her. But she never got to wait for me to come back for the holidays. Memories of my youth. Everyone told me that as the older sister, I should take good care of my younger sister. Only the little old lady, who had barely attended school, would argue with everyone. She's still a child herself. Who can she take care of? Was she born to be an elder sister? She is Nancy. When I rushed back to my hometown, my grandmother had already turned into a cold, black and white photo on the wall. Holding back tears, I knelt down and kowtowed 3 times heavily. Then, 3 sticks of incense were lit. Grandma was over 90 years old, and her passing was considered a joyous occasion. The family hired a troupe to perform, making it very lively. I stared blankly at the bustling scene over there. Then, a person came into view, Anna. She stood at the back of the crowd, watching me with a sinister gaze. Her look was exactly the same as when she pushed me off the rooftop in my past life. I coldly averted my eyes. After the funeral, my parents took the initiative to reconcile with me, but I ignored them instead. I went to a hotel and booked a room at night. Someone knocked on the door. "Who?" My aunt's voice came from outside. "Nancy, it's me." Only then did I feel at ease and opened the door. However, after my aunt came in, my parents followed her into the room. My aunt had no idea what had happened between us and thought I was just throwing a tantrum. She tried to persuade me. "Nancy, your parents miss you so much. They know you're still upset, so they brought your favorite pastries to see you. We're all family. There's no such thing as holding grudges overnight, right?" I frowned, not wanting to embarrass my aunt, so I said nothing. My parents smiled awkwardly and handed me the red bean bread. "Nancy, try it. You used to love this." I glanced at it. "I don't like it. I ate this growing up because Anna didn't like red beans, so this was the only thing I could have." "I hate red beans too," I said, pausing after each word. "Especially hate them." The atmosphere grew tense just then. The knocking on the door suddenly started again. My dad was standing by the door, and, without even asking who was outside, turned around and opened it. The next second, a figure rushed in quickly. Anna ran toward me, her eyes bloodshot and weary, a dagger still clutched in her hand. Why do you get to have all the advantages? You have money and education, but I only have Andrew. Why did he still break up with me?" She raised the dagger high, looking as if she had gone mad. "Nancy, it's time for everything to end. If I could start over, I would definitely live a better life than you." I held her wrist tightly, while my aunt desperately tried to hold her back. It was my parents who stood there frozen, not even thinking of helping, only shouting from the side, "Anna, what are you doing? Put the knife down. Don't be impulsive." However, Anna couldn't hear anything at that moment. I used all my strength to push her away. The door was too far, so I could only drag my aunt into the bathroom, lock the door. I breathed a sigh of relief. "Auntie, call the police." "Okay." My aunt, still shaken, dialed the emergency number with trembling hands. "Nancy, are your parents still outside?" "It's fine. Her target is me. She won't harm them." Outside the door was the sound of Anna kicking it frantically. Only then did my parents step forward to stop her. "Anna, stop this. You were just in detention before. If you keep this up, don't stop me." The words detention center only further agitated her. She muttered under her breath, "As long as I die with her one more time, I can make the choice again. This time, I want 7 million. I'll take the money and become the top scorer in the exams myself." My mom was so anxious she was almost in tears. "What choice?" "Anna, calm down." Her dad, "Stop her quickly." Then, a piercing scream came from outside the door. My heart sank. Something seems to have happened. I heard my mom screaming, "Dad, are you okay? So much blood." Soon, a dull thud of someone collapsing echoed from outside the door. Anna was also crying. "Dad, I didn't mean to." But I didn't expect my mom's first reaction was to urge Anna, "Run. What are you still doing here? I'll take your dad to the hospital." They called the police. Anna left without even turning her head. I immediately dialed 120, and upon opening the door, I saw my father lying in a pool of blood, stabbed in the thigh. I took a deep breath and slowly crouched down to check his breathing. There was none. My legs felt a bit weak. My mother could tell the outcome from my expression. She looked Incredulous. How is that possible? Anna only accidentally stabbed him in the leg, not the heart. How could it happen so quickly? She didn't know that a punctured femoral artery could lead to rapid death. She just held my father and cried. Suddenly, she thought of something and quickly picked up the blood-stained dagger from the ground, trembling as she pushed it toward me. Nancy, help your sister just this once, okay? Even my aunt was stunned. Sis, do you realize what you're saying, even? If it's her own father, this is still murder. Murder is punishable by death. It won't be. My mother came towards me in tears. Nancy, Mom will write a letter of forgiveness. It won't be the death penalty. Just say it wasn't intentional. At most, you'll get a few years in prison. Your sister is still young, and we've spoiled her since she was little. She wouldn't be able to handle it in there, and I can handle it. My mother covered her face and cried. Then what do you want me to do? Your sister has already been expelled from school, and Andrew broke up with her. If she goes to prison, how will she survive after she gets out? But you're different. You're so capable. Even if you spend a few years in prison, you'll definitely be able to live well after you get out. I looked at her coldly. My heart, which had long held no expectations, died completely at that moment. With my father like this, you still have the heart to think about how to protect your precious daughter. I have the ability, so I deserve to die. The hotel is very close to the police station. As they spoke, the police had already broken through the door. My father had already stopped breathing before the ambulance arrived. Anna accidentally struck his femoral artery with that knife, and within just half a minute, blood spurted out, staining the ground red. Anna fled and remains at large. But my biased mother insists that I was the one who accidentally stabbed him. It has nothing to do with Anna. It's a pity that my aunt refused to testify against her conscience, and only my mother's and Anna's fingerprints were found on that dagger. Anna was caught very quickly, not by being arrested, nor by turning herself in, but taken to the hospital by an ambulance. She was panicked to the extreme, not knowing where to hide or what to do, and instinctively turned to the only lifeline she thought she had, Andrew. Upon learning about her crime, Andrew first comforted her gently, then confidently promised that he would handle everything. Then, when Anna was completely relaxed, he pushed her out of the 8th floor window. He leaned on the windowsill, admiring the ever-changing expressions on her face: shock, confusion, terror, regret. Later, according to Andrew's confession, he had intended to fake the scene of Anna committing suicide out of guilt, but he never expected that, after falling from the 8th floor, she miraculously survived. The trees on the 2nd floor acted as a cushion. Anna was taken to the hospital by a passerby and survived. However, she became a high-level paraplegic. She was paralyzed from the neck down and unable to move, barely clinging to life. My mother stayed by the hospital bed, crying every day, and the most frequent thing Anna said after waking up was, "Mom, kill me, so I can choose again. I don't want to live my whole life like this. This time, I choose the 7 million. I want to be the top scorer in the province," she screamed hoarsely. "Kill me then." But my mother refused, only holding her and crying, "Be good, Mom will take care of you, we'll be fine, we'll be fine." My mother prays to gods and worships Buddha all day long, yet no deity has ever shown any sign of response. 3 years have passed. Anna still hasn't recovered in the slightest. She lies in bed every day, with only her eyes able to move. Time gradually wore down my mother's will. She no longer hoped for her most precious little daughter to get better. Every day when feeding her, she showed no patience, shoving a large spoonful of dry rice into her mouth, often choking Anna until she nearly suffocated. When in a bad mood, she would even curse under her breath. "How do you still have the face to live and burden me? You might as well have died back then." And she no longer bathed Anna every day due to being bedridden for years. The paralyzed limbs and muscles have gradually atrophied, and the body is covered with bed sores. My aunt once went to visit and couldn't bear to mention it when she returned. When the blanket was lifted, the sight of the bed sores all over the body was shocking. My aunt said that when she went, Anna no longer recognized her. Her eyes were fixed blankly on the ceiling, and occasionally she would open her mouth, only to hoarsely repeat, "Kill me, I want 7 million, I'm not choosing anymore, I want to start over, system, save me again." However, the system never saved her again, and no one else could save her either. Over the years, my mother looked for me many times, but she never got to see me. Without a husband and without an income, she took on odd jobs during the day and returned home at night to care for her daughter, who had soiled the bed. Years of toil had taken a severe toll on her health. She begged relatives to persuade me and later resorted to various forms of emotional blackmail, but unfortunately, I wasn't swayed by any of it. If it were just the occasional unfairness, I will now take on the responsibility of supporting her in her old age. However, when she told the police without hesitation that I was the murderer, I knew that our mother-daughter bond was completely severed for life. I will never soften my heart. On my 25th birthday, I received an unknown call late at night. A familiar voice echoed in my ear, yet it sounded unusually weathered, hoarse, and aged. "Nancy," she called out to me, her voice trembling. Mom misses you so much. Please, don't hang up just yet, okay? Happy birthday. Mom hasn't seen you in 4 years. Are you still not willing to forgive me? She choked up. You are all my children, and I love you too. I just went about it the wrong way. Are you done talking? I said calmly. You might have mistaken me for someone else. My mother died 4 years ago. This sentence inexplicably struck a chord with her. On the other end of the phone, she suddenly burst into tears. Nancy, Mom was really wrong, Mom. I hung up the phone without hesitation. My heart remained completely calm. I even felt a sense of relief. How can I forgive her? Forgive her for keeping me locked at home for a year, just so I could accompany my sister to school. Forgive me for only being able to eat the leftover bread and wear her ill-fitting hand-me-downs since childhood. Forgive her for begging me to take the exam for her, to take the blame for Anna. Even if I could forgive, the little Nancy, trapped in the past by all kinds of favoritism, would never forgive. By the time I graduated, the original studio had already become a company and was about to go public. My extremely accurate investment vision made me famous in the industry. The future is bright. Once, when my mom wasn't home, I went back to see Anna. She was no longer even recognizable as a person. She was still mumbling some fragmented words. Nancy, choose again. This is probably the only hope in her desperate life, but in reality, she has fallen to this point and still doesn't understand. The mistake was never in the choices she made, her greed, her desires, her malice. Every wrong deed, tangled and complex, had long destined her to live a miserable life. No matter how many times she starts over, it will always be the same. It's not the choices that were wrong, but her very nature. The room was stuffy and reeked of an unpleasant, foul odor. I quickly left. Outside, the sunlight was just right, and the breeze was gentle. I took out my phone, checked the date, calculated the timing, and decided on a new project to invest in soon, a mobile game that is about to go viral. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.